Everybody, welcome back. This episode, I'm gonna start a series on beginners or for beginners, kind of like a tutorial on what ships to get, what setups to do, and then what heroes to pick out, how to level them up, and all that stuff. So let's start with the basics. Okay, let's look at your ships. When you first start out, you're gonna get your levels. The more you level out, the higher the spacings of the ships you're gonna get. So I'm gonna assume everybody is gonna have 6 ships, and we'll go from there. I won't start from the very basic stuff, very low level, since I forgot how all that stuff was in the beginning, very long time ago. I'm just gonna go off on ships that you can get from a free-to-play perspective. So let's cover that. There's actually a couple things I want to talk about first. Let's see here. Most people have a few things that they can do. They can run a all DPS setup. So let me kind of show you what that looks like. All DPS setup, where you basically have nothing but damage ships in your flagship. So here I have, I'll show you what that looks like. My flagship, a Lethal Vortex, which is a drowning ship, Ironclad, Harbinger, which is a strat ship, Warhammer, which is a cutthroat ship, Flagship, which is a fire ship, and then Ironclad, which is an artillery ship. These are all paid for ships, but I'll show you the equivalents of what they would look like and what that setup is look like. So for this purpose of the example, this is a tank slash 5 DPS ship. Most people will run 1 tank, 1 heals, or 1 tank and a secondary tank, and then 4 DPS ships. My setup that I opted with is a 3 bait ship, is what they call it, and 3 DPS ships. So for my setup, which I found, which was really effective, is having 3 bait ships or tank ships, however you want to call it, and then 3 DPS. So for me, I went with the flagship, I went with the scepter, I went with the steam wings, that's a healing ship, and then 3 DPS, which is your Ironclad Harbinger, the Lethal Vortex, and then the Flamebringer. So I'm gonna go with the best advice that I think I could suggest for you guys is to go with the 3 bait ship and 3 DPS. Now, reason I say this is because it increases your survivability in this game tremendously. If you're a PvP player, which is most of the time what people end up doing in this game anyways, that's what you want to look for is survivability. So this will increase your survivability rate by leaps and bounds. It really makes a big difference. Previously, I was running maybe a 2 bait ship, setup, and 4 DPS. So the 2 bait ship that I ran was a flagship, and then the scepter. Those were the 2 original ships I had. And then the 4 ships that I ran were all DPS, which was the Stormbringer at one point, the Siren, the Warhammer, and then the Ironclad. So I had 4 DPS ships at one point. And I went up against a lot of players. I did my fair share, but not until when I switched over to the 3 bait ship did I find I can really outperform a lot of players and even hang with the bigger guys, or if not, beat some of them. So with further ado, I will go in and kind of tell you about what type of ships I would go for the early stage setups. And then I'm going to further parts into explaining it down the line. So first part being, you're going to have your flagship, of course. So you can do 1 or 2 things with your flagship. You can spec it for heals or tank. For my video, let's go, I'm sorry, for my setup, I went with a defense ship. So you can see right here, defense. You can have an assault ship where it focuses on DPS, right? How to do more damage. And then you can have a healing ship where your flagship is more specialized for healing. So you can put more healing ships on there. I mean, or healers on there. I'm going to assume that a player that's watching this video is going to be fairly along the line and just wants to help out on how to start out or how to build a ship that's or a fleet that's going to be very competitive. So with that being said, I would recommend going with 2 tanks and 1 healing ship. So what that means is you're going to go into your talent tree for this one and make it a defense ship. Okay, I'm not going to go too in depth into the defense and how I stat my points and all that stuff in this particular video. I'll do it in all the other parts that are going to be coming after this. This is going to be a multi-series part, but I just want to tell you how the basic generics of the setup is going to be. So I went with defensive. Okay, and then what you want to do for your second ship is go with another tank. So most people can get the Scepter ship right now, or the Boreas. Excuse me. If I were to go with the setup, I would go with 2 tanks and have some healers on the 2 tanks instead of the 1 tank and 1 healer, right? And then 4 DPS. Or actually, the setup I was going to explain to you guys is having 2 tanks, 1 heals. So this is how I would do it. I would go with the flagship, spec it as tank. Second ship would be your Scepter ship. I have the Steam Winged, which I bought. This is the 800 token one. But most people have accessibility to the Boreas. So for the Boreas ship, you can build it out, look for the skill levels, whatnot. But I would spec it for heals. So you want to be able to get increases in healing bonuses. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Coming down a bit under the weather here. So I would, as I was saying, I would spec this Boreas as heals. I would get things for the talent trees. I can list for you guys a little later on about what abilities I would pick for the Boreas for heals. And like, for example, here, Blood Sea Healer increases ship healing bonuses by 9 and decreases aggro by etc. Right? So Stimulant would be another one. The ally shape with the lowest HP receives 20% less damage. This one for the Boreas, I'd go into details a little bit later on for you guys of how I would spec the Boreas. But anyways, for the purpose of the video, once again, that's the type of 3 ships that you would have access to if you're free to play. And that's how I'm going to go off of it. The Scepter is a free to play ship. And it's a really good ship, and I have it. I'll show you all the time points that you should go for. You know, like Ironclad, Download Will, Toughened Armor, Armor Adaptations. All that stuff I'll cover in later videos of how to spec each one of these ships or what I prefer to go for. But once again, purpose of this video is what I would do for fleet organization. So first things of the fleets that you should do is for focus on survivability. So for me, I would go with the Flagship, the Scepter, the Boreas, right? So here we go. Boreas would be my 3rd ship. Now for my other ships that I might go for is I would go for the artillery ship, and then a fire ship and the strategy ship. Those ships right now, they're all free to play, are higher stats and damage just because based of the heroes that you can get for them. With the nerf with the cutthroats, I wouldn't do that. So the next 3 DPS ships that I would go for is the Orochi, the Goddess Sajit, right? And then you have your Stormbringer. So your Stormbringer, Orochi, and Karasajit. Those are the three ships I would go for based on what's currently out right now, uh, stating having artillery, fire and water, and strat with good damage. Cutthroat currently right now would be your Warhammer. Let's see here. Where is it? Here we go. Not saying that you can't get it or you shouldn't get it. I'm just saying the damage output overall with the heroes currently available isn't as nice as the other three ships. So with that in mind, those are the three strategy ships or the three DPS ships I would go for. Now, alternatively, if you have some money to spend, the ships I would recommend on getting beyond that is depending how big your budget is, of course. But if you're a low spender and you want the most bang for your bucks, you could go with the Siren. Right here, the Siren for the or the Siren for the strategy ship, which is a really good ship, the Iron Lord ship, and then the Flamebringer ship. Now, all three of these ships you can get for 200 of those tokens, which is, I think there's an event going on right now. Yep. The ship events. So these come around. You can pick the ship that you want, trade them out, but these are the ships I would go for tank-wise. Ultimately, if you have money you wanted to spend and you wanted to go with the tank and you want to go with a 2-tank setup, I would go with the Flagship and the Stalwart Defender. Now, the Stalwart Defender is a great tank ship to have if you wanted to run a 2-tank setup. I would go with the Flagship and the 800 token Stalwart Defender. Reason being is because of this ultimate right here. 80% reduction in damage for the first 80% for the first 12 seconds. That's huge. So that's one I would definitely pick on if you wanted to spend some money. Alternately, if you wanted to go with a 2-tank setup, you could go with the Boreas as an alternate 2-tank setup, but you have to land a legendary ship with this ability, which is the Swift Evasion. Entering the battle, the fleet gains 50% damage reduction for 10 seconds. This effect cannot stack. So this ability is what you would want stacked with a few other heroes, depending on the strategy, just so you can get all of the damage pulled onto you, and you can run a 2-bait ship. But those are a little bit more advanced tactics that I'm not going to cover in this particular video. I'm going to stay play it safe, go with the 3 bait ships, your Flag, your Scepter. Yep. Oh, that doesn't show that. Go with your Flag. Here we go. Your Flag, your Scepter. This would be your Boreas. You can have your Orochi ship. Then you're going to have your Sajit ship, Goddess Sajit ship for the artillery, and then your Stormbringer. Now, when you get your Stormbringer, one of the things I want to mention to you guys, make sure you plan out what you're going to go with, whether it be water damage or fire damage, and then spec your skills accordingly to the heroes that you're going to put onto it. It does have an affinity depending on what hero you want to put on it. I see some people having water and fire, which you can do, but you just want to make sure that the skills that you're going to be picking up can accommodate both. For example, if you pick Unfettered Hunting, this can do blazing and drowning, which is good. You don't want something like Enhanced Blazing, but have 2 water heroes on it. It's not going to fly that well, right? You want to do something like Relentless Strikes, right? And Fetid Hunting, and then Killing Pace. For example, those three would be a great skill set for you to have for a dual um, hero ship base, right? Where you can have both, um, or you can have fire and water attacks, increases fire, blazing, drowning, damage over time. So you just got to make sure that you have these abilities that are suitable for both heroes and not just one. For that matter, for the Stormbringer, and I think that's the first part of the setup that I want to cross over to you guys. So you guys have a general idea for this video of that's how you do or what you do for a ship setup. The next part of the video, the part 2, I think I will cover ship parts. What ship parts you guys would want to go for to cover each one of these type of ships and why you want to put the ship parts on those type of particular ships. Thirdly, I'll probably cover the heroes that should go on each type of ship and how I have my heroes set up on my particular fleet. And then fourthly, ships and their talent points and for those ones. So this will probably stretch out to be a 4 or 5, maybe 6 series episodes. We'll see how it goes, but I appreciate you guys for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. There's a section in my comment section for significantly reduced discount priced from Sky Castle. So if you like it, remember to check and subscribe and check them out and get the purchase going. And wait for the next one to come out, guys. Thanks for watching. Alright guys, had to come back real quick to put a second part of this stitch in to the part of the video. Just to put into context so you guys can be like, okay, well, show me. I forgot to go show you guys about how that works for point-wise. So, I'm sorry, not point-wise. Damages, right? So, I just got hit by a bunch of chat challenges. So you can tell here, 362 is a little bit over me, level 57. But as you can see, I'm holding up my fair share, right? With my setup. So somebody's level 57, power level is slightly higher than me, but you can see overall damages, challenges that they threw towards me were there, and then finally a win on the last one. So with that being said, my server is a pretty decent server. It's got some really strong players on there. We're 177. Anyways, out of this here, we have some really top players out there. TD being one of them. Birds also in the guild. Power-wise, yeah. So Birds in the guild, TD, TD, Lady, Biggie, Rag. Some other people in there are really stronger. However, if you can look at one of the closest one under me, so if you can look here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people ahead of me, right? Me being at 490. Now, if you were to do power to power comparison, and I'll do a challenge here, you can take a look at my setup and how well it does against an opponent that is nearly 100 million or 90 million in power over. So, once again, you take a look at that, right? How well we did. His overall power 418. If you look at from the game saying points wise, power wise, yeah, 550. So that's about 60 million over, and I fare pretty well on that. I'll do somebody from out of guild, a sister guild of ours that has a significantly gap, whereas 584 level 57. We'll do a challenge here, and you can see how well we fare against that as well. So with the setup I have, 3 bait, 3 DPS, you can see that I fare pretty decent against higher odds. So if you take a look at all that stuff like that and you kind of show it together, it fares overall pretty well for being where it's at against higher player people. So once again, this is a best setup for me, and I think that's a good setup for most beginners to do 3 bait, 3 DPS. It's more versatile, it's more flexible. Oh, see, and there I go. I can beat him. So it's more versatile, it's more flexible, gives you a lot more wiggle room. If you go with the 4 DPS or anything other than that, you're just going to be um, weighing out with a DPS. Who does more DPS on the other side? For me, one of my guild mates told me, no, it's no good to do is a lot of damage if you can't survive. So focus on surviving.